Good morning. I'll be your instructor this morning for MGT 253. My name is Dan Piercy. I've been teaching here at Mesa Community College for about 16 years. I'm the program director for the Entrepreneurial Studies and Small Business Management program. I am an advisor to the Student Entrepreneur Club, and I am the director of the Green Flag Mesa Business Program. In my spare time, I occasionally consult with local small businesses and I assist them in solving some problems. Having mentioned that, I'd like to share a brief story with you. A while ago, I met a physician who was having some problems with his private practice. He approached me and he asked me if I could resolve or assist him in resolving some of those problems. I asked him if I could look at his business plan. I'd be happy to review it and to give him any recommendations. His response, I'm a physician. I don't know how to write a business plan. I thought a lot about what he had to say, and it occurs to me that his attitude toward his business is a lot like someone who wants to take a vacation with no particular destination in mind. He'll probably arrive somewhere, but it won't necessarily be where he hopes to arrive. Let's have a short class discussion. If I say to you, what is a business plan, or what's the purpose of a business plan, how would you respond? I notice there are some responses appearing in the chat pod. Let's see what some of you have to say. A strategic plan for operating a business, business finances, like how much it's going to cost to run a business. Andrew says a roadmap or the steps you need to take to start your business. Well, thank you for your comments. Let's shift for just a second and watch a short video.
A business plan is a written document that details how a company will achieve its goals. Few good companies last long without one. Business plans give direction to new companies, while established ones use them to determine new ventures. A business plan should paint a clear picture of the costs and drawbacks that come with each important decision. Rarely are two business plans identical, but most will include the following elements: a summary of the products or services provided, market analysis, marketing strategy, financial planning, budget, projected revenues, operating costs, a projection of expected performance. Operating a business without a plan is like swinging on a trapeze without a net. It might work, but the benefits a plan provides are abundant. They include the chance to test a product or service, plus the opportunity to think through an idea before sinking too much money into it.
So, according to the video, a business plan is a written document that details how a company will achieve its goals. A couple of important aspects of writing a business plan. Although almost anyone can write a business plan if they know enough about the business, generally it should be written by the owner of the venture. A business plan serves multiple purposes, either internal or external. An internal planning device, such as Andrew suggested, an organizational roadmap, or an external device, for example, developing interest with investors or speaking to a banker about capital. Let me tell you a little bit about what you should know when you're writing a business plan. First and foremost, a business plan is usually about 7 sections long. In many cases, what you're doing is writing a business plan for a busy executive. And a busy executive has no interest in reading a book. If you go to a busy executive with a business plan that is 20, 50 pages long, the likelihood that he'll read it is very slim. Even with an executive summary, he may read the executive summary, but he's never going to open up that business plan. So keep it concise, short, to the point, and allow him to read the content without becoming overwhelmed. A few more things you should know about a business plan. First and foremost, a business plan should be well organized. It should contain sections, headings, and subheadings that clearly identify the content of the business plan. It should be written in a narrative form using sentences and paragraphs. Avoid too many bullet points or brief ideas. It should follow the rules of grammar and spelling. In fact, misspelled words in a business plan are red flags that should generally be avoided at all costs. There are sections in a business plan. Remember, we talked about there are 7 sections in a business plan, but there are a few other elements that should be included in a business plan. First and foremost, every business plan, it is a legal document. It should have a cover page, and I'll talk a little bit about what should be on that cover page in just a minute. But it should have a table of contents, an executive summary, a business description. It should cover market strategies, a marketing plan, your competitive analysis, a management plan, a financial analysis, design and development plan, and then it should include appendix or exhibits of the documents that you're using for supporting evidence, and always references. Let's talk about the cover page. The cover page can be what you want it to be. It can be as simple or as complex as you want, but it should always contain the business name, the business owners, an address, and contact information for obvious reasons. If you take this document to a banker or to an investor, you want to make sure that they have a way to get in touch with you. At the bottom of a business plan, you should always put some kind of a legal disclaimer declaring that you own this document and that there is a restriction to the distribution of the document. Remember that a business plan is intellectual property. It's the things that you know about your business that nobody else knows. It's the roadmap to a successful business. You don't want to leave a business plan lying around for someone to pick up and have all the secrets that you need or that they need to start a successful business. A business plan should be protected just like any other intellectual property. You should always know who and why someone receives a copy of your business plan. You should limit the number of copies that you ever make of a business plan. You should not just indiscriminately run copies of business plans and hand them out to anyone who wants one. The second section in business plan is the table of contents. Table of contents, while there's a lot of freedom on what your table of contents looks like, there's certainly no standard for that. Keep in mind that the purpose of a table of contents is to assist the person reading the business plan to locate the different sections easily within the plan. Not everyone will read every section of a business plan. They may only be interested in certain aspects. So how you format your table of contents should just make it easy to find the contents within the business plan. You notice here in my example, I've shown you the sections of the business plan, the page where that occurs. And then I've shown you the different section or the different subsections that would be found under that particular section. So in section number 1, for example, you can find problems, solutions, business description, vision statement, mission statement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's simple. It simply makes it easy to locate the content within a business plan. Any questions up to this point?
I just have a question about the cover page, and should
Okay.
it be plain like that, or can you put like designs on it, or would you recommend not doing that?
You know, the cover page can be what you want it to be. The intent of the cover page is, of course, to identify who you are and how to get in touch with you. The legal disclaimer is important, but how you decorate the artwork, what you do, what you decide to put on that page would be entirely up to you. You know, I would say if you can complement your business by using some images of what you do or what you sell or how you interact with customers, certainly that would be a complementary aspect of a cover page.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome. The next important part of a business plan is an executive summary. Remember that busy executive who only has a few minutes to look at your plan? You need to provide him with a short, concise overview of the business plan. That should be on the first page of the business plan immediately behind the table of contents, and should only include a single page, no more than one page, and should contain only a summary, a description of the business, address the problem it solves, address who the business plan is for, and cover some financial highlights. Remember, a executive summary should be one page, but should be compelling enough to capture the reader's attention and develop enough interest so that someone might say, gosh, I should probably look at this business plan. It sounds interesting. The executive summary, although it's the first page in the business plan, is always written last. It's written last because you don't have the information to write the executive summary until the business plan itself has been written. The first section in a business plan is always your business description. The business description should include some specific information, but remember that primarily the purpose of a business description is to explain what you do, how you do it, where you do it, and why you do it. Those four things are the things that most people want to know about your business. Use your business description to provide detailed information about your company. This is where you go into detail about your company's problems and the problems that you solve. Be specific. List out the consumers, the organization, or the businesses your company plans to serve. Explain your competitive advantage, the thing that will make your business a success. Are there experts on your team? Have you found the perfect location for your store? Your business description is a place to boast about your strengths. Your business description should sum up the background and the general structure of your business. Section 2, your marketing strategies. The marketing strategies are your approach to a competitive advantage. You'll need a good understanding of your industry outlook in the target market. Who will buy what you sell? Competitive research will show you what other businesses are doing and what their strengths are. In your market research, look for trends and themes. What do successful competitors do? Why does it work? Can you do it better? Now's the time to answer these questions. Section 3 is the marketing plan itself. The marketing plan is where you take those market strategies and you convert what you know about the industry to how you're now going to serve the industry. So in section 3, you want to discuss in detail how you'll reach or attract, convert those people into paying customers, and how you'll keep those customers or retain those customers in the future. In the marketing section, you will also describe exactly what you will do to make a sale happen. An important part of the marketing plan section is to cover the 7 P's of marketing. 7 P's of marketing are product, price, place, promotion, people, physical, environment, and process. Although you should not spend considerable amount of time on each of those, you should demonstrate that you understand what it is you sell, at the price that you're going to sell it at, where you're going to sell it, how you're going to promote it, the people who are going to interact with the customer, what the physical location, what the environment looks like. Your website is an important aspect of your physical environment. What your website looks like, how easy it is to use, how well it can be navigated are all important aspects of the physical environment. And then finally, the process is how you're going to accomplish those things. In section 4, We need to talk about the competitors. We need to demonstrate that we understand that there are people who do the same thing we do, and we need to identify those competitors by name. An important part of understanding who of the competitor is understanding what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. What are their weaknesses and what are their strengths? And then finally, understanding who the competitor is only important if you can convert that into what will be your distinctive differences. How will you do things better than the competitor? A tool that you can use to identify your competitors is a competitive analysis grid. Here's a simple competitor analysis grid where I'm looking up the 5 companies that I know do similar things to me, and then simply listing some of the important aspects of doing business: price, location, quality, food type. The categories don't matter as much as recognizing that you need to identify what your competitors are doing in order for you to identify what you can do better. Section 5 is the management and staffing section of your business plan. This is where you talk about yourself. This is where you can demonstrate that you are qualified and able to own and operate a business and be successful. In this section, you want to talk ownership. You want to talk about duties and responsibilities that are needed in the organization. This is a good place to put an organizational chart. This is where you talk about your leadership, your managers, the people who are going to run your company. This is where you identify your operative employees, the people who will have the jobs, what jobs are necessary. And be sure in this section that you include not just the names of the people or the function that the person will perform, but make sure that you talk about how you're going to compensate those people. This is where you talk about dollars in compensation. And discuss any needs that you might have for outside managerial assistants. Outside managerial assistants are the people who you might need who do not appear on your payroll. Those would be people like your banker or your insurance broker. Those are outside managerial assistants. They can lend value to your company, but they don't need to appear on the payroll. Section 6 is the big section. This is the most important section in a business plan because this is the section that convinces the reader that you are financially stable and will be a success. Now, the financial documents should not necessarily appear in the financial analysis. The financial documents will probably appear in the appendix of your business plan. So in the financial analysis section, what you want to do is include information about how you arrived at the at the numbers more than the numbers themselves. So if you're new to a business, if you're a new startup, you will have to probably come up with a 1 to 5 year projection. You'll have to come up with pro forma income statements. You'll have to come up with balance sheets, cash flow statements, and capital expenditure budgets. But the purpose is in this section not to show those documents, but to explain how you arrived at the information that appears on those documents. The documents that you're going to have to explain in this section are the sales forecast. Certainly we want to see the sales forecast, that will be in your appendix, but in this section you want to discuss how you arrived at that sales forecast. What was your criteria? What was your logic? How did you decide that that number was a attainable goal? The same with your expense forecast. You need to discuss the key expenses. You need to discuss what costs, what your fixed and variable costs look like. You need to demonstrate that you understand that there are expenses in running a business. A cash flow statement, you need to discuss your terms for receivables, payables. You have to talk about what your payment cycle is going to be. You have to talk about what cash reserves you have available and explain how you'll operate for the first few months before you become profitable. And then finally, it's a good idea to discuss your break-even analysis, when you think you'll reach the point where your revenue exceeds expenses. In section 7 of the business plan, you're going to talk about your operations. Physically, what is your production process? What capacity do you have? What equipment and tools will you need? This is a good point to also introduce the timeline associated with running a business. If I plan to launch in 6 months, what does that launch look like? What will I need to accomplish before I can get there? You'll end your business plan with your appendix and your exhibits. A good rule of thumb for appendix exhibits is to include any charts, graphs, tables, illustrations that are going to take up more space on the page than justifies their being there. A rule of thumb is if a chart, graph, table, illustration is going to take up more than 1/3 of the page, you should reference it in your text and use something to the extent of, for more details, see the appendix A or see appendix B or see appendix C, and attach that that illustration in your appendix. Okay, that's the parts of a business plan. Any questions?
Just one.
Okay.
On the title page again, the legal documentation, the legal disclaimer. You can just put, this is the intellectual property of me. And
yeah, you can put, I mean, that legal disclaimer, you could probably go online and you could find the text for a legal disclaimer, but primarily what you want to make sure that you include in there is that it is your intellectual property. It belongs to you, that no one has a right to duplicate that document, that no one has a right to distribute it to unauthorized parties. Those are just the type of things you want to include there. It's just verbiage, but it just gives you a little bit of comfort and legal protection in that respect.
Okay, so with the legal disclaimer, you don't need to see any lawyer to get that done. You just have to get online and then find it, and that'll be all.
Yeah, I mean, if you leave your business plan laying around and someone picks it up, that legal disclaimer isn't going to protect you at all. I mean, they might look at that and go, this is pretty funny. They left the business plan laying here, but they've got a legal disclaimer on here that says I can't look at it, right? So there is really no reason to pay the expense of seeing a legal expert for that particularly. And it's really only for your comfort more than anyone else. People can ignore it. It really is. My recommendation I would make is, if you're printing business plans, number those business plans. Say that this is business plan number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and know who those 6 business plans go to. Know the person that you gave them to. Make sure that they're people who have a right or need to have that business plan. And then hopefully, by numbering the plans and knowing how many you've printed, you'll have a little bit more control on the plan, and they won't fall into hands where they shouldn't. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much. That's what I had prepared for you today. I hope you have a little bit better understanding of the sections of a business plan, and I hope that as you pursue your business ventures, that you might recognize the value and the importance of having a business plan. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful day.
You as well, Professor. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.